In these troubled times where the Irish birth rate has collapsed and there is a full-scale invasion of this land and people, one pivotal question arises. Do we elevate ideas above the safety and security of Irish people? Put more bluntly, is it more important for Ireland to be full of Catholics or for Ireland to be full of Irish people? The difficulty in this question is that many Irish people conflate the two, seeing Catholicism as intrinsically Irish. There's been a long and sustained relationship between the religious faith and the Irish people. However, more recently, many Irish people have become painfully aware of the precarious position they are in as a distinct ethnic group. This has led to a surfacing of nationalist sentiment among the Irish, echoed throughout European peoples too. It is with this in mind that we will explore the divergent paths of nationalism and Catholicism. Let us be brutally honest in our assessment, because our very future and existence as a people may depend on how we reconcile the two, if at all. Ireland today is grappling with competing visions of identity: traditional ancestral heritage versus modern, faith-based or globalized perspectives. Maria Steen, a barrister and Iona Institute member, is running for the President of Ireland in 2025, emphasising family, faith and, quote, the common good. This presentation explores whether her Catholic First perspective risks overshadowing Ireland's broader cultural and historical identity. While there is indeed some merit in Catholic values when compared to the modern moral depravity, we will be exploring if Catholicism is enough to safeguard the future of Irish people. This is an intellectual and moral exploration and is not a personal attack on anybody. It is simply weighing up ideas and their logical extensions and seeing if they are enough for the self-preservation and self-determination of the Irish people. So, who is Maria Steen? She is a barrister, an architect, a mother of 5 and a homeschooler with a Montessori teaching qualification. She's a member of the Iona Institute, a socially conservative Catholic advocacy group founded by David Quinn in 2006. She has campaigned against same-sex marriage, abortion and the family care referenda, advocating for traditional Catholic values. She seeks the presidency to be, quote, a guardian of the Constitution and to promote family-centric values. She is indeed an impressive person and woman, and certainly sounds like a voice of solid sense and reason, especially when juxtaposed against the murky backdrop of where we are in Ireland today. Founded by David Quinn, the Iona Institute promotes Christian, primarily Catholic, social and moral values, opposing abortion, same-sex marriage and secular policies. It emphasizes marriage, fertility and religious practice as societal goods, citing benefits like lower divorce rates and higher charity. It critiques modern policies, example immigration, but this is done through a Catholic lens, focusing on cultural religious impacts rather than ethnic identity. Notably absent from their mission is an explicit mention of the Irish people or Ireland's pre-Christian heritage. As you may read below, the Iona Institute was founded in 2006 and it says, quote, we promote the advancement and promotion of the Christian religion, its social and moral values, and the doing of all such other things as are incidental or conducive to the attainment of that object. Steen's campaign centres on the, quote, common good as defined by the Irish Constitution, emphasising prudence, justice and charity. Her definition of Irishness is an inclusive one, for she said, quote, people who have chosen to adopt Ireland as their country, some of them have become citizens here, and they are Irish too, although they may also retain the citizenship of their birth, which of course is their right to do. So as far as I'm concerned, that's what being Irish means, end quote. And she said this in September of 2025. However, her focus on family and faith aligns closely with Catholic doctrine, potentially prioritising religious identity over cultural and ancestral ties. Her opposition to the 2024 referenda aimed to preserve traditional family definitions, rejecting broader secular interpretations. And if you will allow me to add an additional quote from Steen, which may highlight her overall geopolitical aim, if we remember that Catholic means, quote, universal. On speaking about Pope John Paul II in May 2025, she said the following. He worked with other faiths in dialogue with them, seeing atheism as the greatest threat to society, having witnessed its effects in both Nazism and communism. Now, some in the church have criticized him for this, though I think his approach was probably along the lines that it was better to, and easier to, try to build bridges with those who would in principle accept the idea of God or a higher power, and try to work then to bring all to Christ. End quote. The Iona Institute's mission echoes Jesuit principles of faith and justice, formalized in 1975, which blends social action with Christian charity. Jesuit initiatives, example the Jesuit Refugee Service, focus on integration, education, and advocacy for marginalized groups, including asylum seekers. Steen's emphasis on family and values-based society aligns with Jesuit goals of promoting faith-based social order, but lacks their focus on systemic issues like housing or environmental justice. Both, however, prioritize a universal Catholic lens, potentially sidelining Ireland's unique cultural heritage. Both Steen and the Jesuits focus on different issues. However, their overall aim remains the same. As per the Iona Institute, quote, "We promote the advancement and promotion of the Christian religion, its social and moral values, and the doing of all such other things as are incidental or conducive to the attainment of that object." Responding with intellectual rigor to the most challenging issue of our times, implying Ignatian discernment in decision-making, caring for the poor, the vulnerable, and the earth, our common home. Serving the Church with creativity and with fidelity to our Jesuit tradition, bridging societal divides and fostering understanding amongst diverse people and cultures. Collaborating regionally through partnerships and in networks to serve the people of God. This is the liberation theology espoused by the Jesuits, and that is taken from the Jesuits' homepage. If we harken back to an Irish priest, Malachi Martin, he was concerned with the, quote, "the new Jesuit theology," for he seen it as a theology of liberation, a theology of politics, a theology of revolution. Martin criticized the Jesuits for adopting a Marxist-inspired approach to assuring Catholic dominance, which was labelled liberation theology. Steen's worldview, rooted in Catholicism, views Irish history through the lens of faith's rise and decline, not ancestral lineage or pre-Christian heritage. This risks alienating those who value Ireland's ancient traditions, Celtic mythology, or Cuchulain's heroism, or secular identity. Her inclusive definition of Irishness may dilute ethnic and historical ties, prioritising a global Catholic identity. David Quinn's 2025 paper on religion, marriage and fertility frames immigration as a cultural religious issue, not a national one. The Catholic versus nationalist struggle has been put before us millennia ago, although our Catholic education did not offer us up this debate. It was between Patrick and Oisin, and was captured and kept alive in our folktales. The divergence of view can be seen in Patrick's attempt to convert Oisin, offering, quote, "Turn from thy old ways, Oisin, and embrace the one true God who offers eternal life beyond the fleeting joys of this world," end quote. Oisin's response highlights the earthy kinship fidelity which Patrick was opposed to, and in which appears to be resurfacing today. Oisin offered, quote, "The Fianna were the pride of Ireland, and their deeds will live long in the songs of our people, long after your churches crumble," end quote. Oisin valued family before all else, nation before man-made religion. Steen's supporters see her as a counter to secular progressivism, but her Catholic focus mirrors the government's universalism in prioritising ideology over heritage. Both Steen and the government risk neglecting Ireland's ancestral roots, which resonate with many Irish people seeking cultural continuity. The common good becomes a battleground. Is it to be defined by Catholic values, global inclusivity, or Ireland's ancient lineage? What we hear from others is often filtered through how we are, and so we must question our biases and Steen's. A pre-Christian Irish perspective is shown to us and remembered by us in the figure of Cuchulainn. who represented Ireland's ancient heroic spirit, which was rooted in land, lineage and cultural pride, not imported ideologies. Unlike Steen's Catholic lens, this vision prioritises Ireland's pre-Christian heritage and the resilience of its people. A values-based society can include faith, but must also honour Ireland's unique history and diversity of beliefs. And so, the challenge: how do we balance inclusivity with preserving Irish identity in a globalised world? Cuchulainn forged his own path and followed his own nature and his own heart, a champion of individuality and a protector of his people. Catholicism can dilute individuality, as it demands a collective allegiance to a prescribed set of beliefs. This is alienating and holds something other as being more important than national sentiment and allegiance. Maria Steen's Catholic before Irish perspective risks sidelining Ireland's rich cultural heritage in favour of a universalist faith-based framework. While her emphasis on family and the common good resonates with some, it may alienate those who prioritise Ireland's ancestral identity. To avoid rotting the minds of Ireland's people, we must critically examine all perspectives, Steen's, the government's, and indeed our own. Let us draw inspiration from Cuchulainn to build a future that also honours Ireland's past. And indeed, with Steen's emphasis on the common good, the natural question is, where is the common good sought and established, if any people can become any other people? This denial from Steen of the differences of race flies in the face of the well-studied and well-felt experiment of multiculturalism. Robert Putnam famously found that as diversity increases, social trust and social capital, society and culture break down. Steen's perspective on this, that is what being Irish means, is an abstract, legalistic perspective which offers little to no protection against the forced demographic shift being imposed on the Irish people. Steen indeed herself might be happy with this if those who are coming to Ireland convert to Catholicism. That is, at the end of the day, the Catholic mission. We remember the quote about John Paul II. She said, quote, "Now some in the church have criticised him for this, though I think this approach was probably along the lines that it was better to and easier to try to build bridges with those who would in principle accept the idea of God or a higher power, and to try to work then to bring all to Christ," end quote. This suggests some sort of a backing or support for Pope John Paul's limp and impotent defence, or indeed attack or opposition to, the collectivist ideas of Nazism and communism. I would also like to highlight that the idea of family values being a Catholic invention is false. Irish people have long held fidelity to their people, their family and their tribe. This is nothing new, and certainly not something that should be territorialized. And so the whole lot of this together is a defining question for each Irish person to answer for themselves. Is your allegiance to be to the afterlife and a God that sees no distinction between races, only those who believe and those who do not? Or is your allegiance to your people in this world that we are in? It is time for both of these ideas to be seen as separate and conflicting when we are speaking about the very survival of the Irish nation. The weight of conclusion lies on your shoulders.